Hello, amateurs. Welcome to another episode of the Amateur Rugby Podcast, here to help soothe your Sunday morning hangover with some wonderful rugby chat about the grassroots of the game. I'm your host, Tim, and I've got another fantastic guest for you today. This man has won schoolboy caps for Wales. He was a professional player for the Ospreys, and he's now carved himself out a career in rugby by using social media alongside his vast expertise. Please welcome the rugby trainer, Mr. Ben John. Ben, how are you?
Yes, good. Thanks, Tim. Nice. That was lovely. Enjoy it. Thank you, mate. But yeah, I'm awesome, mate. And thanks for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
It's good to see you. Now then, let's talk a little bit about some recent events, because I know you've been over at the World Cup very recently, touring around and having some fun. So just tell me about your sort of World Cup experience.
Yeah, first stems back to when Wales got to the football Europeans in France, and we got to the semi-final. And I remember playing rugby at the time, and all my mates were out there, and the experience, they said, it was incredible. And then as soon as this came up, I thought South France, Wales, England all playing, and Scotland all playing in the bottom, Nice and Marseille. So I was like, right, I got to get over there. I don't want to miss this once in a lifetime. So yeah, hired a campervan from Camper Kings and headed over there. Didn't realize how big France is, fair play, because obviously I'm from Wales, literally from one side of the country to the other. It's about an hour. So, it was a big old journey down, but absolutely loved it. Went from, Dover down to, stopped off on the way. I went a couple of days early to do some coaching in a couple of the clubs there, and then on to Marseille, then straight across to Nice, and then back to Dover. So it was about 15 days altogether. And so 4 games, stayed in some incredible places right on the beach, because I'm from a place where there's a lot of beaches. I didn't really want to stay in the city. I wanted to stay in little towns outside the major cities and just get a train in. And I stayed in a place called La Ciotat, underneath Marseille. Oh, amazing. What a place. Loved it. Campervan right on the sea there. Waking up every morning, beach there, and then obviously go to the games, come back. That was incredible. And my wife came then for the second week, and we went all the way across like Saint-Tropez, Toulon, a couple of nice spots. We stayed in Saint-Tropez for a few days actually, but it was and it was a heat wave as well. It was in the beginning of September, so. It was perfect. First week though, the van was like a boiler house. It was so hot. Oh my days! Luckily I was there on my own for the first couple of days, because it would have been tough for the missus. But what an experience! Loved it, and I am so glad I did it.
Amazing. And you definitely got the best of the weather. It is grey and miserable here today, let me tell you. Now, I spent a fair bit of time in your country of Wales this summer, and the general feeling about the Welsh national team was one of gloom and doom. How are you feeling now, Ben, about the Wales' prospects in their current form?
Yeah, well, it's quite funny. Before the tournament, I was kind of really relaxed going into it, just because we didn't have any expectations. We had a very tough Six Nations, and we could only do good because there was no expectations. And now the excitement is building. And we're a very good team when we got momentum as well. We got a couple of wins under our belt now. We can just gather that momentum. And we've always been a team that are just fighters. We're just scrappers. If it's a game really close, we're going to shut it off, just because we're just so good at making things scrappy and making it really hard for teams to beat us. And I think, the first 3 games has been an absolute dream. And all of a sudden now we're the Welsh, we're back on the team to do the job.
It's a remarkable turnaround. Fair play to Gatland. I mean, I think you're probably favourites to get to a semi-final now, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it just shows how incredible like Gatland is as a coach. Obviously his record speaks for himself, but absolutely amazing considering where we were even this time last year. I think this time last year we lost to Georgia, so massive turnaround. And obviously we had a tough Six Nations, as I mentioned, but it's been gathering momentum. He's got players now understanding what the actual identity of the team is, and you can just see it. They know their roles inside and out, and it's coming straight through into the games. And the good thing is as well, we've had a couple of injuries, and the players that are coming on know exactly what they're doing as well, and they just fill that role nicely. So, yeah, well, we won't get too far ahead of ourselves because we did that last World Cup. A few World Cups ago. And, yeah, we got to make sure we just beat the next team. So, yeah, looking forward to the next game.
Absolutely. Now then, let's talk about you, Ben. Let's start. How did it begin for you? How did you first get into rugby?
First got into rugby. So like you said, you mentioned it earlier, you visited the club that I played at, Loughor Rugby. So big shout out to Loughor. So my brother played before me, so he's a few years older, and usually whatever he did, I would love to do. He played cricket, I played cricket, athletics, whatever. So I just copied him. He's my hero growing up, my brother. So they started a team my age, under 10s maybe. I was under 10s maybe I started. So yeah, signed up for the team. I was big into my football back then and cricket. So yeah, jumped in and straight away absolutely loved it. So played there until I was about 16, and going through those phases then I played like for district, which is the local county, and then I got selected then for Ospreys under 16s, and from there then I trained, and I played a couple of games, did really well. We won the championship, and then I got selected then to play for Wales 16s, and then from there it just built up nicely all the way through to getting a pro academy contract first for the Ospreys at 16 after that season. And yeah, we had some incredible players signed up to that academy as well. And from there, 18s Ospreys, and then 18s Wales, and then 20s Wales. And I played my first regional game at the age of 18 for the Ospreys as well, against Leeds in a LV Cup. It was pretty cool. Came off the bench, and I came on the wing, and we had a yellow card, so I had to cover flanker. And who was playing number 8 was Jerry Collins, and being able to play alongside an absolute rugby legend was an absolute dream. And yeah, what a guy he was. He had to tell me where exactly I had to put my head and arm and everything in the scrum. But yeah, amazing experience. And yeah, I got to, what was that? I was 18, and then from there, then I played a couple of games. But I kind of broke into the Ospreys seniors about 22, 23, so it was a few years further down the line, because they had some brilliant centres when I was younger. Yeah, and that's the beginning of the career. It's obviously really condensed, but yeah, that's the journey.
So were you always a centre or a winger, or from your sort of junior rugby all the way up? Because I know you're quite tall, aren't you?
Yeah, so I was always centre. I was 13, so I'm 6'3". I was always a 13, but when I got to about the senior team, our wingers just always were injured all the time. So then I played my first game against Treviso, I think, on the wing, and I played really well that game, and that kind of kickstarted me to play on the wing. And usually, if you are very young, you've got a little bit of pace, usually you start on the wing and then slowly make your way into the position that you wanted to. Especially that's what happened to me anyway, and a few other players around my age. Yeah, so on the wing, played loads of games in the wing, and then I had a crack at 13 then, and I think I haven't looked, but I think most of my appearances were on the wing. Just because the injuries, there's so many injuries with our team, because they were either too fast or too powerful. They would just break down. But yeah, I was probably the slowest winger in the league, but yeah, I played a lot of my games there. And
tell me a little bit about what it's like, and especially the first time you represent your country. What was that feeling like? What was the sort of, the common feeling within the room?
Yeah, so I represented my country with 18s, 16s, and 20s. And the special one was 20s, just because we got to the Rugby World Cup, Junior World Cup, and it was out in Argentina. And it was the first experience of like an proper away trip with a rugby team, and just being there, not previously to that, it was all about school trips and having fun, but this was all about, enjoying it, but also coming out there with a performance as well, at a high level. So it was amazing. And we played against New Zealand, who were just fully stacked. The England team was incredible. Like the England team, they had the likes of like Tuolangi, George Ford, Owen Farrell, Elliot Daly, a couple of the guys in the forwards as well, Vinopolas. They're an incredible team in New Zealand. Surveyor on the way. I think Surveyor scored a hat-trick against us, and he went off half-time. Have a rest, mate. You scored enough tries. But it was amazing. That experience, I can just revisit it now. And especially when the under-20s play their World Cup, you can always look back at those memories really fondly. And I can see it clearly in my head if I close my eyes now. The experience out in Argentina, it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, incredible. The under-20s World Cup, I think, is some of my favourite rugby that I've ever watched. You know, historically, every year it throws up some incredible rugby. What was the kind of games? What were the games like during your World Cup? What was the sort of standard? What was the sort of style of the teams?
So who did we play? We played Fiji, Argentina, and New Zealand. Games, I think it was. Yes, we had a tough old group, but New Zealand were New Zealand. They were just fast-paced. Skill level was incredible. Everyone was a footballer as well. The ability to just shift that ball. The Fijians, they were good, very skillful, but it's just the pace and intensity of the game. It was very fast, very well, as I can remember, very fast, very obviously physical, something I hadn't probably come up against before. And luckily we had a very strong team as well. So and we had some very good, we had a good squads. We rotated the squad quite a bit, and I think we did okay. When I say we did okay, I think we were the closest team to New Zealand with regards to the score on the pitch, and we lost like 30 points to like 14 or something like that. So we're the closest. So we'll take that away.
Happy days. Now, talk to me about post-match in Argentina, because I've been fortunate enough to play rugby over there as well, and the way they do sort of post-match food in particular is what I'm after. Just blew me away. What was your experience like in that respect?
Yeah, we had a couple of training sessions. I remember at this ground. I'm not sure the name of it, but we had the steak barbecues afterwards. Oh my days! Yeah, it was so nice. I remember just all sorts of meat. And the size of the meat table was incredible, and I remember the food being just so good. That's virtually all I can remember with that, really. But the steak, I'd never seen anything like that. It was incredible. No wonder some of the forwards they had were absolute tanks.
Yeah, completely. It's no surprise, is it, when you see what they eat? Okay, let's talk more about the Ospreys. What was your experience as a professional? Did you love being a pro? Did it feel like work for you? Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Looking back now, absolutely loved being a professional rugby player. Really lucky to have the ability to do something that you love. But it does on times. Well, it is a job, so it does feel like a job because of every day you got to show up, performance. But not many people can say that they go into work knowing they're doing something they absolutely love. And I think that's what I've been really lucky with. And the values that it teaches you as well from what you learn on a rugby pitch is crazy. The crossover, especially going into the real world, how much it does cross over to things you do in the real world, especially your values. It doesn't have to be like rugby skill wise, but the fundamental skills that you have with your work ethic, your ability to take criticism and use it as feedback. I think that's the biggest one. I've noticed is when somebody says something, because when I retired, I went straight into a gym, and obviously you had to stick to certain standards and stuff, and then you had feedback. And so that is probably the best thing I've picked up from the rugby side of it. And also but meeting new people and making connections, and the social element of it is something that's massively helped me as well going into the real world. But I feel like I was absolutely in love with playing rugby. There's a few times where I did get consistently injured in periods, and I found that really tough. But that was only tough because I wasn't doing the thing that I absolutely love doing, and I've worked really hard to do. So, yeah. Other than that, I've really enjoyed my time as a pro player.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come on to the injuries, but let's talk about the social side first. So, who were some of the guys in that Ospreys team that like you really got on with? Spent most of your time with, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So players I would spend most of the time with was people like Eli Walker, was a really good mate of mine. We grew up down the road from one another. Very good player. Dan Evans, 15. Gareth Thomas, who's playing for Wales at the moment, prop. Brilliant in the changing room. A guy called Matthew Dwyer as well. Quality in the changing room. Good player as well. Thomas Grabman is good. He was the younger group around my age, like Tom Pridey when he was there, Ashley Beck, Tipperick Webby, Reese Webb. But yeah, we had a good core group of boys who came through the academy at the same time. We kind of stuck like a lot of those players who were in that academy kind of made it through to the first team, which is amazing to see. And to be able to play alongside them from the age of 16 all the way to 20, 26, 27, and seeing them getting their Welsh caps as well. It was incredible. I'm not sure if you met him, but Lloyd Ashley as well, really, really good mate of mine, and really enjoyed. He was always my captain going through the ages, and he's just finished now. He plays for like just who's he play for now? I was going to say Aberravon, but Abertawe, Swansea. So, but yeah, he was a really good mate of mine. But yeah, it's cool to see us all grow together, and look, especially now looking back at some of the under 16s photos that have been doing the rounds in the Ospreys groups. It's really cool to see. Yeah,
amazing. But the injuries did come. So tell me about them. Like, how did you deal with them? And yeah, tell me a bit about it.
Yeah, I was. I got hold of the nickname. So a couple. Scott Johnson called me. One game he used to call me because I played one game. I would have a pretty good game in that one game, and I would be injured then for a few weeks or months or whatever. So I was about 20, just coming out of the 20s. It was a couple of years where I was just consistently injured. I first one is I did my scaphoid, and it was complications with that. So that took me out for about 3 or 4 months, just because of the complications of it. Because it didn't fully heal, and then I'd come back then and something else would happen. The year after, I'd play the remainder of the year, and then the year after, then something. What was the other thing happened? My groins, my hips and groins went. So I was, I was very injury prone. And looking at it now, maybe I was doing too much. Maybe I wasn't giving myself the amount of rest I should have. But it's easy to say now. I should have, looked after myself away from the training ground a little bit better, like rest and recovery, because I was just always on the go all the time. I was doing a lot of things. Regards to, I was going like from the gym, from Rugby Trainer, I was going to the gym again then, and just being on the bike for a little bit and that sort of thing, just because I was young and I was excited. And
was that because you wanted to try and make yourself better? Did you see that as being a positive?
Yeah, it was. Thinking that this would make me better, and obviously trying to get better, whereas probably some days I should have been like, right, to get better, especially learning now, I need to recover, I need to sleep, I need to chill out, and that would make me a better player rather than just always trying to be better and better through physically putting myself through a bit more work. But yeah, that came as I got a little bit older. I started doing less and less, and you could see the difference. You could feel it a lot fresher, and I was starting to actually put on size then, which is important, because when I was younger I was just 6'3" and like a beanpole. I remember my first Osprey game, I had to tape my arms because the shirt was so baggy. Brilliant. It was a tight fit. It was a tight fitted shirt, and I had to tape the arms. That's how bad. That's the.
Yeah, because it's a funny thing with these. Sometimes a player needs to be sort of reined back a little bit. Sometimes a player needs to be pushed a little bit, and I guess that's a skill of a coach to recognise that in each individual.
Yeah, because that's who told me. It was Philo Tia. He was a player coach at the time in the Ospreys, and I picked up an injury just before we were going away to a summer camp somewhere. And the morning, we were doing a training session, and I made a tackle, and I broke my hand. So I missed out on that pre-season. And then Philo was like, oh, maybe you need to have a look at what you're doing away from training and recovery-wise. Are you doing too much? Just question yourself that way and ask yourself those questions. And I did. I took some time and I had to think. I was like, yeah, why am I going to the gym? I've been injured for the last 2-3 years. My body, nothing to do with, more to do with just my body breaking down. So I had a look, and I had a couple of years then of being injury free, and I gained a lot of momentum then, which was when I started playing a little bit better and getting my opportunities.
Amazing. And tell me about I don't know, some of the biggest games that you played in. You know, what stood out from your time at the Ospreys?
Yeah, so I remember we got to semi-final of the league, and we played out in Munster, and we could have won, and we scored the try right at the end to win it, and it got knocked back. I got pulled back because it was a knock on a couple of phases before. But yeah, that was amazing being in Munster. They was fully packed out. They had a fully loaded team. We had a fully loaded team, and Munster, like, their fans are absolutely incredible. It's one team I would love to have played for at a point, just because their fans and their love for rugby is an awesome place. That was good. And Judgment Day was always good in Wales, where both sets of teams play against each other in the Millennium Stadium. And at that point, it was like I think it was the fourth one I was involved in, and it was packed out. It was like 55,000, and I'm just looking up and just seeing I was playing in the Millennium and playing Cardiff as well. We played and we did well. We put some points against them. What an experience! I can absolutely love that moment.
What was the noise like inside the stadium, Ben?
Amazing. I can just. It was a group of Loughor lads actually sitting, because I was playing 13 then actually, and it's a couple of big group of about 30 or 40 Loughor players in the crowd, right on the bottom layer, and for some reason they were just singing songs about my nose, because I broke it a few times. So I got a big old nose, and they were just, I could hear them, and it was quite funny. What were they saying? Ben John's nose, my lord. It was amazing. Just, incredible. I could just hear the roar now of when we were scoring tries, or when Cardiff made half a break. Obviously, the noise is a little bit louder with their home support. Amazing.
And how did that affect you as a player? Did it make you sort of almost rise up to greater heights, or did it feel intimidating? How did it feel to you?
Yeah, rise up. Just, you don't really know who they're shouting for, apart from the Ben John's nose. But it just it gives you energy. It's just a dump of adrenaline. It's just making sure that you control that adrenaline. You don't do anything crazy or out of the script of how you want to play. It's amazing. I think that's the one thing on the pitch I do really miss is that moment. For example, if you make a line break and you can just hear people shouting, or that feeling of making a line break, and the noise, that's pretty cool experience. Or making a big hit, or somebody making a hit and the crowd just goes whoa. And that's within I only played in a massive game and a couple of times, but even when we were down at Liberty, when it wasn't the big crowds, having that noise was so uplifting. I couldn't imagine what it's like in the World Cup now, the Welsh boys now. I bet it's a huge roar.
It must be almost quite hard to sort of bring yourself back down to earth after the event. You just be raised so high, emotions really bursting, and then you've got to sort of bring it back down, recover, and get back onto it for the following week. Did you find that more difficult after the bigger games?
No, No, I felt at the time, I think as you saw in the moment, you don't really reflect on it, but thinking about it now as a retired player, after I finished, you see a lot of players as well, they go on to doing crazy challenges and whatnot. And my take on that is because I did it myself. And this is obviously from my point of view is I think I was trying to replicate the adrenaline from a game and put it somewhere else. And I started doing like, I started off with a marathon on like a piece of equipment or running. And then I ended up doing like 3 marathons on 3 different pieces of kit. And it got to a point where I was like, what? Where's this going? Where am I going with this? So I had a chat with my wife about it and just been like, right, I'm doing these crazy challenges now. And obviously, why am I doing them firstly? And I think it was because I had to try and replace the adrenaline or the feeling that rugby gave. And then obviously the only way I knew how to outlet that feeling is from physically putting my body through pain or put my body through an exercise. So I resorted back then to just trying to chat and trying to talk and express myself that way to take a little bit of the sting away from it. So then I can still do my training sessions that are quite tough, but they don't have to go to the extent of put my body through once a month, something crazy just to feel of try and replicate that same feeling.
Yeah, no, I hear you completely. So, I mean, we've sort of talked about retiring from the game there. How did it happen? How did it come about for you?
So I had a series of knocks, concussions, and every time I had a knock, I would take a little bit longer and longer to recover. And I took about 6 months out after one. Took plenty of time to fully recover, and then I came back, and then within 2 games, I even like practiced with Brad Davis, who was excellent. We practiced on tackle technique, and we reinforced that for 6 months, and we were really on top of that, and I felt really good. And then I played a game then, and I like got knocked out from my head hitting the floor. And it was just something I was just, devastated with, just because of something I've tried to prevent from doing my tackle technique. And that was what I got knocked out before, is I got my head in the wrong position. I was like, right, I need to reinforce this, making sure I'm on top of it. And then, next thing I got knocked out then from going up for a high ball. And then I fell in the air. I clashed with a player, and then, my head just whipped back and hit the floor. From there, it took me a while to get over them symptoms. So I took a year out, 12 months. And in that period, my contract was running to the Ospreys, running out. And I just said to the Ospreys, I was like, look, I don't want to re-sign or anything. I want to take some time away to give myself the best chance to fully recover. Because I know if I'm in the environment, then I know I'll be eager to maybe push it a little bit too soon. So, and they're really supportive, and they helped me throughout it, and I was always in touch with them. And 12 months came, and I started training again, doing a little bit, and the symptoms are still there a little bit, and I just thought, it's been 12 months, and my symptoms are still there. They start flaring up when I start moving again. Is it the best decision for me to carry on? What was I then, 26, 27? And I still had, because I moved out of rugby, I had to get a job, so I had a taste of working as well up in London. And I thought I'd a chat with my family and my wife, and I made a decision then the best thing probably is to think of my long-term health and retire.
Yeah, and well, firstly, how are you now? Like, is everything sort of cleared up? Do you feel like 100% in terms of that?
Yeah, so one thing I did really struggle with during that recovery period is tracking anything that was moving quickly. My eyes would really struggle tracking it, and obviously I had other symptoms with that as well, but that was the major thing that I could notice straight away. Like, for example, if I was watching a training session, I just find it really hard to track the ball or track a player. But then, now, like yesterday, I trained with, I messaged Kai Griffiths, who coaches London Welsh, and I was like, mate, can I come down and just train and just have a run around? And he was like, yeah, join in. So yesterday trained, and it was as good as, I feel really good. So tracking is perfectly fine. Concentration is good. All the other symptoms have all cleared. So what's that? We are, gosh, it's like almost 5-6 years now. since I retired. It's gone fast, but yeah, it's all cleared up, and yeah, touch wood, it's all going well. And I had a look at things that can help me with like helping to aid the process of recovery with concussion side of things or brain recovery. And I was looking at, like, obviously sleep is a massive part and what can help me get better sleep. So getting into like a nice routine, making sure that I don't do anything before bed that's going to upset my sleep, like phones and stuff. So I always like sleep away from my phone. I've got like a Lumni alarm light to wake me up. And also nutrition as well. Having a look at, so I do a lot of like fasting now. So that sort of side of things, like I do intermittent fasting. So I start eating at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and stop eating at 9. So I'll just do those intervals. I also looked at ketogenic diet at the time when I was recovering. And I did that for like 8 months, and whether it helped or not, I'm not sure, but it seemed to help me at the time. And I spoke to a lot of people. I think I spoke to a nutritionist that said like things like obviously fish oils are good, and creatine can help with helping with recovery. So just keeping an eye on my health really, and try and give myself the best chance to fully recover.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, when you say training, is that full training? Are you doing contact and stuff like that, or is it just kind of the kind of non-contact parts?
Well, to be fair, I've done a lot of going to sessions now. I've done like London Irish A's, London Welsh Old Olanians, Merthyr up in Wales. A lot of like, sometimes I just drop a team a message and say, "Can I come down and train?" Because I'm in the area. Firstly, because I want to stay fit, and I want to make sure that obviously everything I'm doing now with my work, I want to make sure I'm still sharp and stuff, still moving well, and the fact that I love it. I love just throwing the ball around, expressing myself, and having fun, and passionate about rugby. So I just want to keep that going. And sorry, I was going away from it, but yeah, a lot of the sessions now are minimal contact anyway. You might have 5 minutes of full contact, and to be fair, I haven't had everything's usually just smother anyway because it's in season and they're playing contact. So all the clubs I've been at is just smother, and I'm down for smother. I don't have to put my body out too much on the line. So usually when attack happens, I'm playing there. I'm in the mixer, and as soon as defense happens, I'll slowly fade to playing 15 and cover the backfield. And that's when I become a wing. Then see, I'm like, I got the winger. I'm playing 15. But I did play a game last year for Loose Heads charity, and that was my first game since finishing. And I was nervous beforehand with that, but my first tackle as well. I was nervous. First tackle I made, and I kind of had to like check myself over. I kind of like assessed myself because I was playing 15. Somebody made a line break. I made a hit. I got straight back up, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm fine." And then back into it because the previous thoughts were I wasn't finishing games. Now obviously I got into a bad role of concussions, but to be able to make a couple of hits, and I felt totally fine afterwards. It was kind of a shock but a relief as well. I was like, oh yes, but I'm still being really careful with it, making sure I'm not overplaying. I'll just play once every so often and I like hold the pad and take a couple of knocks. But that's it so far. I played one game. I've signed up for another game now in November time, so we'll see. I'm still chatting to myself in my head about
that. Well, it sounds like what you've been through, it must be nice just to be able to be involved at any level, just doing something involved in the game must be fantastic for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I've loved rugby. It's given me a lot to help me with my career and everything. So, and something I've always loved is just the contact side of it as well. So making sure I know I'm still well to do it, but I choose not to do it all the time. But as well, because my job is very active, I can't risk getting injured. Just because everything I do now is to do with me moving well, moving efficiently, and so that's the major thing. That's why I don't do contact now. Is just because the risk. Because if I'm playing touch and stuff, I can just strap my ankles. My ankles are terrible. So making sure I strap them as if they are not moving, so I know for well they're going to be good. But yeah, just the contact side is just the risk be reward then because of my work.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk about that now, because I think it's really exciting. Let's talk about the Rugby Trainer. How did the Rugby Trainer start? How did it become? How did it begin? What is it exactly? And tell me all about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. What is it? So yeah, the basis of it is my aim is just to encourage people to grab a ball, whether you're young, old, mum, dad, son, daughter, whatever, grab a ball and get down the park and just use rugby as an outlet to express yourself and be fit and healthy. And it doesn't matter what format you play, just grab a ball and go. That's virtually the basis of it. And then how it started then is lockdown. So I used to be, when I retired, I became a head. I was a personal trainer and became a head coach of the gym in London, which is called Manor, and that awesome setup there. But yeah, lockdown happened, so everything just went onto Facebook and like an online platform, which was so much easier to manage, and I had so much a lot of spare time. So in that spare time, then I thought to myself, if I was a kid, I would not be doing press ups and sit ups and things like that. I would be driving my mum and dad mad, throwing a tennis ball or rugby ball around the house. So I thought, right, what would be cool is if I just did a 20-minute or 30-minute skill session for kids every week to follow along. And the first one, I got a few people and it just started growing from there. And at the time, I knew the Welsh players were not doing any training at all because everyone had got locked down. So I messaged a few of them, like Josh Navidi, Halfpenny, James Hook, and asked them, do they mind jumping on and just sharing their insights and sharing some skills that we can follow along? And as they were doing that, I'd ask a Q&A as well. And from there, started growing and growing. And lockdown finished. What did it finished about? Or say August, say finish of July, I think it did. And then at August, then I started a academy with Reese Webb and Ashley Beck, a skills academy, and that did really well. But then as the players got back into to their training, then we couldn't withhold it. It was tough to manage. And then I made the conscious decision then to finish in the gym and just do the full-time gig with the Rugby Trainer. And luckily my wife is a brand and graphic designer. So we were just bouncing ideas, and she helped me come up with the idea of the Rugby Trainer, because we based it kind of off like what the body coach does. It's just trying to encourage people to be fit and healthy through fun activities. And from there, the Rugby Trainer was born, and it started growing from there. What was that, 3 years ago now? So mad.
Amazing. So is it your full-time job now, Ben? Is it what you do?
Yeah, so it's crazy, but it's my full-time. What's mad is like when I played, I didn't have any social media, nothing. I refused to have it. My wife was like, "Oh, Ben, you got to get it just because it's good for X, Y, and Z." I was like, "Nope, no chance." But finish rugby, and now I'm I'm always on it. Obsessed with it, probably. Is probably the word.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk to me about that transition then, from somebody that never had it to somebody that now relies on it for their job, for their income. Like, how has that been? How's that process been for you?
Yeah, it's been it's been interesting because I felt like I had to learn, because being a PT in London, there was a massive pool for, there's a lot of people, but also there's a lot of PTs. So it's just using it to grow your business. And so I started off, using social media for a personal trainer to grow my business and try and share
knowledge and awareness and techniques and things. And I did a lot of courses then. I just went onto YouTube, watched a lot of courses and signed up to a few courses where I can learn how to be better on social media, ask some people for some good advice as well. And yeah, it started growing from there. And as I made the decision to become the rugby trainer, I was looking at rugby and I was looking at, right, who's doing what in rugby on social media. And there was only one I found at the time, and there was Rugby Bricks, and he was like the main account, and obviously he's incredible, Peter, what he does. But I was like, oh my gosh, if I searched football or American football, there's hundreds of people doing this, sharing as much knowledge as they can. And I thought this is a cool opportunity to try and help players. And I would have loved this as a kid, just somebody teaching me how to pass. And so I started just giving tips and advice on social media. And yeah, fast forward 3 years, and what's incredible is the growth of rugby and social media. There's loads of people doing this now, and it's class to see that. Yeah, how fast is this growing, and how much that's helping players then, and bringing the buzz of rugby. And it seems to be going well.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you are absolutely fantastic on camera. But what I want to hear from you is, tell me about the first couple of times you tried to pick your phone up and talk to it like it was a person. How did that for you?
Yeah, so I should try and find some of my old interviews with the Ospreys. I'm terrible on camera. Obviously, a lot of people probably say this, but really bad. I was really awkward and didn't know what to say and whatnot. And I found speaking to phone on my own, I found that a little bit easier because it's up to me and I can do it, and no one's looking at me. I find it really hard now. Even now, if I had a videographer and the videographer was standing behind the camera, and then there's somebody in the distance, I find that really hard. So I'm actually working with Charlotte's name as a public speaking coach to help me with that side of things, to get me better and better with that. But yeah, I find it quite easy on the phone because it's just me and my face, and I could just talk. And because one thing I found really hard at the beginning is like not understanding how many people are actually like seeing some of these videos, because it's just a number on a screen. It doesn't really like, but then how I try to process it is I always try and put them into a rugby stadium. Like, for example, if I did a video and it hit 10,000 people, I'm like, oh my God, that's like half the Liberty Stadium where I used to play, type of thing. That's crazy. That's mad. But I always said to myself right at the beginning, which if I make one video and that video, the key points are, if that can help one person to grab a rugby ball and improve their skills, then I do not care what happens, as long as it helps one person. So if I get one view, I know for well I've ticked the box, I'm happy. Anything more than that is, and I said that from the start, it's like, it's not about views, it's about making sure that one person grabs a rugby ball. And I've tried to stay as true to that as I can. There's been some times where you do look into it and you do like try and push it, and you do think about, oh, why didn't that do well, and ask you questions. But yeah, I try to always go back to that and think, well, okay, one person, how can I help that one person?
Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it. But while we are talking about this, what has been some of your sort of biggest successes in terms of numbers in the content that you've produced? What was the subject matter?
Yes, it's wild. I had one literally a few weeks ago that had 45 million views. I know. It literally took me 30 seconds to film. It was crazy. And then some other videos then it take me 2 hours to film and edit and everything, get like 1,000 views or whatever. So yes, it's wild. So you don't really know what works. But I always, like I said, I try to get three things: making sure it's educational, entertaining, and it stays true to me. It's just my personality as well. As long as every video has those three, then that is my aim, because I don't want to do anything that is, not, well, it doesn't go along with me if I'm just, so I always try to stick to them three, really, and that keeps me in line and keeps me focused on what my content is.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the other things that you've done really sort of successfully with this is get to work with all the top players, certainly in the UK, I would say. What have been some of those opportunities like? Who stood out for you in terms of people that you've worked with, whether it's, you know, their sort of generosity or their character or something that they've taught you something? You know, give me a couple of examples of people that have been great to work with.
Yeah, so that is exactly a massive benefit of, and how lucky I am to do what I'm doing is I'm a coach. Firstly, I really like coaching. I really like the individual skill. I did coaching as an 18-year-old, and then I coached at Ospreys 16s when I was still playing there. So having the ability to go to all these clubs and all these players, it's incredible because I'm learning so much from them, and I'm learning the way they see different things and how they interpret a technique and how they pick up tips, because what they say I can just share that with players, and it might stick with a person. What I say might not stick, so it's just different interpretations of a skill that may stick with a youngster that might help them. And some of the players, like I got half hour. I had an opportunity to do half hour with Brian O'Driscoll, an absolute hero of mine. So I was like, all my days. So literally, I just half hour. What do you want to film? And I was like, right, all I want to do, mate, is I'll ask you a question. You talk for half hour virtually. I just want to learn as much as I can from you. So that was incredible, Brian O'Driscoll. Got to look around Leinster Rugby Saracens, Harlequins, Bristol Bears facility. All my days, Bristol Bears facility is this incredible. There's a video on my YouTube showing around it, but it looks like, you know, when you see like the football, like top range football teams in their facility, is like that. But yeah, because I've never seen it in a rugby sense. It was incredible setup. Owen Farrell, I chat with him. That was cool. Got to go to the Six Nations launch last year, and you mentioned earlier about not recording one of your other podcasts, or you made a mistake. And I had an interview with all the coaches, all the Six Nations coaches. It was my first time doing it. And I interviewed Stephen Borthwick, and I forgot to press record. And I was just interviewing him. He had some amazing tips, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is class!" And I walked around then to have a look at the camera to switch the record off, and I was like, "Oh my god, I haven't recorded it." And he was like, "Everything all right, mate?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." I didn't want to tell him I didn't record it.
Oh God, I tell you what, you do this kind of thing long enough, everybody's got one of those. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, but yeah, I bet. But that's what
Maybe
it's
not
about,
with
isn't it? Like, yeah, but it's about learning and making a joke of it and fun, and just being like, right, hopefully I get a chance to chat to him another time. So but it's been incredible. And I think the best thing is how much I'm learning on the job as well. Not only from the filming and editing and the business side, but just learning as a coach. It's been amazing, and learning from the best players in the world, the best coaches in the world, and having the ability for them to be open enough for me to share it with everyone else. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's becoming a sort of a growing thing, I think, within rugby. More and more coaches and players are willing to share almost, you know, their real sort of deep secrets. Why do you think that is? Have you got any kind of idea?
Yeah, I think it's people are now beginning to understand this is how we can grow the game, especially because, like, I'm not sure what you were like as a kid, but you just go down the park and just do what you think is right to throw the ball around. And, oh, this is how you pass or whatever, because I watch TV and no understanding what is actually going on in like your skill. Whereas now getting those people to share, those top coaches and top players, getting them to share a little bit of their gems, it makes a big difference. It's just making sure that you understand what they're saying and you can put it into your way of coaching, and for example, if you are a coach and you listen to something that Andy Farrell says about the defensive structure, it's being like, well, okay, I'm not just going to take what he says and just apply it to my team. It has to make sure it goes into your context of what you're trying to achieve. Like, for example, if he was talking about making sure everyone's watching the ball, making when they're defending, making sure that you are pulling that and you are going to try it, but making sure that you know where in the defensive line that's going to apply and apply well. So yeah, it's understanding what they're saying, taking it in, absorbing it, but then trying it out, reflecting if it works and if it works for your team as well. Because sometimes the elite, they do things because it makes it easier because everyone knows their role and knows their job. Whereas when in the amateur game, a lot of players are only there once a week in training. So it's making sure that it applies to them and you're not trying to get them to do elite sort of stuff. You still keep it nice and simple and basic and digestible for players to remember on a Saturday and on a Wednesday or a Tuesday whenever they train. But going back to the original question, I think it's people understanding like to grow the game is they have to share a lot more and be open and be and people love people. People love to know the person. They don't want to just know the person they're watching on TV. I want to know what Andy Farrell is like, or what like Sam Warburton's really good at it. Obviously he's retired, but he's a player like Lewis Sam is very open and shares himself on social media, and you get to know him as a person now, and you get to see what he's up to, or what was he training like, or he's so fast, what's his speed training like. I want to be as quick as him. So it's a nice way of doing it, and it's big in obviously American sport, and it's growing in football. And yes, rugby's definitely going the right way, especially with all these Netflix documentaries or Amazon Prime shows that are coming out. You get to see the people, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody loved the Living with Lions back in '97 because that's the first time we'd ever really seen anything like that. And it seems like we haven't really had anything to match it since, I don't think. So hopefully, like you say, these Amazon Prime and Netflix series will hopefully really, really get in there and show what it's really like. Yeah,
and obviously the other sports have led very well in it. Like obviously the standout one, the F1. Like I'm not an F1 fan. My wife's not an F1 fan, but she'd watch all the shows, F1, Drive to Survive. She loves them. Now she started to enjoy it. If it's on TV, she'd be like, "Oh, can we have a quick little look?" So it just shows it brings in new faces, and especially with the growth of the females game as well, that's bringing in new faces. The more we can bridge the relationship between men and women's rugby, it's going to just grow the game massively.
Yeah, for sure. Now, just to go back to something you mentioned before about learning the filming and the editing, is that something you've taught yourself, or how have you gone about that?
So a lot of the YouTube is brilliant, right? I've started worshipping YouTube. So anything on YouTube, even when I was in the gym, I was like, if a machine got broken, I'd be like, how to fix a ski erg on YouTube, boom, and it just gives you the step by step, and that's how you learn to do it. So it's exactly the same with the editing. I've learned how to edit and film. Some of the more complicated stuff, I'll get a videographer to do that, but most of the editing I would do myself, and that's just trial and error and learning and watching videos, like building websites and stuff. Like my wife is a website designer, so that kind of helps, but she's really busy with her work, so I've kind of used YouTube again, how to build a website using X, Y, and Z. So literally a lot of it is just, and I think that's something I've learned from rugby. That's what one of the values is. If I find out I'm not good at something, I'm not going to do it. I want to make sure that firstly I understand it, because if I do hire someone to do it, I want to understand what they're doing. But also because I have, when I started off, I didn't have the funds to hire a videographer. I just learned it all myself, and that's just through YouTube. Being like, well, okay, how do I do this? Okay, I'll just learn how to do it. Watch a 30-minute video, trial it, give it a go. Oh, it didn't work that time. Why didn't it work? Go back to that video again, watch it, listen. So that's virtually everything. I've started now because business is growing with my academy. So I've built an academy, which is like a skills academy, which I spent, a lot of players like in the elite would spend 10 minutes after a training session working on a skill. And usually that skill is programmed for them. They'd be like, right, Tim, you struggle on the weekend for X, Y, and Z, make sure you do those are your extras this week. So you practice that, and you wouldn't just do it for a one-off week. You do it for a few weeks to make sure it gets better and better. And I just did that for kids, and not just kids, but grassroots players or amateurs or whatever. So I design programs for you that you can follow for 4 to 6 weeks, and it's 10 minutes. It's really short. Couple of drills. You do this. You send me a video back. So I built that myself. I've started now getting someone to help me. So Alex has come in to help me with that. So now I can, because that's starting to grow, I can get people in now to help me do the things I'm not very good at, and I can now start firing myself from different jobs that I'm not actually that good at, even though I've tried. So yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah. So these academy players, members, these academy members, how do you identify what skills that they require?
So I've got an ongoing 6-week plan. So if you wanted to, if you joined it, you can if you want to, you can follow my 6-week plan. This 6 weeks is passing and tackling. That's our fundamentals they're working on. 1 attack, 1 defense type of scenario. But if you didn't want to do that, I've got a list of all other programs in there, from kicking, passing, offloading. Even like pro players have done some specific stuff. Like Sam Warburton's done a attacking, rucking 4-week program that you can get better at for all players. Then Fionn Lewis, who's done a scrum half passing plan for anyone who wants to get better at that. And then Vicky Fleetwood's done an advanced tackling program. So it's loads, and there's also a library full of all my drills, so you can just pick whatever you want to. I also do like a live skill session for kiddies to follow in that group. So if you are a parent or you are a coach and you got a kids, they want to just practice some fundamental skills, they can join that. And then once a week, then I will go on like something like this. And everyone who sent me videos, I will just go through and give them all feedback. So not only will you follow a plan, but I can coach you as well. I'll be like, Tim, in your tackle technique, you did this really well, but can we adjust this for next week? And that's all I want you to focus on, adjust this. And then because it's the start of the season now, we just did an 8-week preseason block, and it's amazing the messages I've just received now from some of the players. Like they played their first game and they're like, oh my gosh, my tackle technique is totally changed from the 8 weeks of preseason. When you get those messages, it's amazing, especially because a lot of people were nervous because of the new rules that were set with the height. But it just shows that practice and progression and feedback and trial and error, it just shows like people can get into these positions. It's just through repetition and spending 10 minutes a week, twice a week, doing specific skills, doing those extras.
Yeah, I saw one of the it was one of the tackle ones. I think you shared it this week, a success story of somebody, and you sort of broke the tackle down and how they'd improved and all that kind of stuff. It must be so rewarding to see that.
Oh yeah, when his dad sent me that, I was like, oh my days, that is epic. That's like, because that tackle is side on tackle is very tough, because people tend to go for power over technique, because they think the person's showing a bit of weakness side on. People just tend to try and absolutely leather them and smash them. So what they tend to do is go back to their stronger shoulder. And then what that usually means is they come across, they get their head in the wrong position, and then that's a risk then for injury. So what I loved about him is he just thought about right technique, but because he delivered it so well and he got really tight to the tackle, he just made an epic shot, and I was just so chuffed for that. And supposedly, yeah, the player Ozzy was just bouncing after that game just because how many tackles he did. He did a few more in that game, which are incredible. So yeah, I was loving it. And when you see things like that, it's that's what I was talking about. That one thing, one person. If you can just help that one, yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, let's talk about, if we can, just quickly, the different platforms you're on, Ben. Which platforms are you on? Which ones are your favourites? Which ones are good for some things and not so good for others? How do you see it?
Yeah, it's a mad world now. There's so many different platforms, and I try to flood people with my face on all of them. So but it's interesting from doing it. It's interesting to see the demographic of age, like targeting for different platforms. Like if I was going to talk about anything to do with like coaching or anything to do with my business or anything, that would always go to like Twitter or I would go to LinkedIn. And those two of those platforms, because there's an older generation on there. But if I was going to do like fun stuff, or more targeting like youngsters of improving their skills, TikTok is the way forward for that. TikTok is blowing up with everything now. It's if anyone's not on TikTok and they have a business, it's a really cool way to spread, because they don't have to follow you to see your videos. So anytime I would walk and somebody comes up to me and goes, "Oh, you're the rugby trainer," the first thing they would say is, "You're the guy from TikTok." They wouldn't say my biggest platform is Instagram. That's always been my biggest. But I hardly ever got that. It's always TikTok, because as soon as I watch your video once, Tim, on TikTok, they would always push that video to me. The next time you post, I wouldn't have to follow you.
Right.
Which is really interesting. So TikTok is massive for anyone who's got a business. That's very a playful app. And then Instagram's my main one to showcase everything. So I would say, and it's all the same. It's all the Rugby Trainer. And then for long format, if you wanted to learn a bit more depth and a bit more insight, that'll be my YouTube channel. It's a lot more my longer format, where I go into a little bit more depth of a skill or a place that I've been or somebody I've spoken to. And that's the one thing I'm focusing on is YouTube, trying to improve and grow that and try and share as much knowledge as I can. But that's the one I find really hard, because it's a longer format, and that means I have to speak in front of the camera for a little bit longer.
So which one's your favorite then? If you could only have one, which one would it be?
So I would say the hub of the community hub would be Instagram, the Rugby Trainer on Instagram.
Fair enough. Okay, good stuff. Right, well, we'll bring this part of the show to the end and move on to the stash section, if that's all right, Ben. So what is your favorite bit of stash you've ever received?
Oh, favorite bit of stash I've ever received. Oh, I sponsored Old Delanians, which is the club I'm associated with in London, and they've given me a shirt with the Rugby Trainer logo on the bottom. That's my first ever shirt I sponsored, and it's a nice kit as well. I would say that's my favorite piece of stash, just because it's very sentimental, and it's just a really cool thing, and something I want to get framed up and put on a wall. Pretty proud of that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, fabulous, and a great club, Older Ladians as well. Fantastic club. Now, what is your favorite kit of all time? So this can be any team from any era.
Oh, favorite kit of all time. Can I say a few? Can I say a couple?
Yeah, I'll let you have a couple. Go on.
First one, I remember as a kid getting the Natal Sharks shirt. The old school one with a big shark there. I used to love that as a kid. It was a grey one, black, grey, and white. That was a lovely piece of kit. Then also, I like the Ospreys had one that had a massive Superman badge across here. That was cool. That was a cool one. So if you ever get a chance, Google it. It's a really nice piece of kit. No, it's not Superman. Batman. Sorry, it was a Batman one.
Oh, Batman.
Yes, it was a Batman. Like what was the bat, the logo bat across here? And I think Connaught had like another superhero. So every club that was with BLK at the time had a superhero, and we had Batman, which is pretty cool. So them two, and I would say I used to like the old Reebok Wales shirts. There used to be a classic Reebok Wales shirt with a big collar, really baggy. I remember Shane Williams carving up with it on, and it used to be really baggy, and that was a nice kit as well.
Nice. Okay, 3 good choices. Like it. What about an awful kit? What kit do you dislike at the moment that you would throw in the bin if you had to wear it?
Oh, I might take away throwing in the bin, but I'm not a fan of this Irish kit at the moment. It's like a different type, kind of green, isn't it? It's not the Irish green. I'm not a fan of that green. It's just because Irish green is that, it's that grass type of. I'm not sure the actual name is green to me, but it's not the Irish green, is it? It annoys me.
It's too light, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too light. It's annoying me. It's like, that's not Iron Green. That's probably my bugbear at the moment when I'm watching Ireland play.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. Okay, we'll bring this to a close. But before we do, have you got any sort of final thoughts or anything else you'd like to say about, you know, your career or the rugby trainer or anything else?
Just massive thank you to anyone who's fallen, because like this is my job now, and it's berserk that I'm doing it, and like being able to coach from little ones. I've coached some of the pros as well, and having that versatility, but also going to pro clubs and going to grassroots clubs. And I did an event the other day, Twickenham touch rugby, walking touch. There's people there 75, 80 years old playing walking touch rugby competitively on Twickenham, and I was just like, absolutely incredible. So thanks ever so much for everyone who's followed and supported, because it's making it possible for me to visit these places and share as much rugby as I can, to try and get people to pick up a ball where it's all started from. So massive thank you to everyone.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, we've kind of mentioned it already enough times, but if people want to get a hold of you, how's the best way for them to do that?
So best way is just use the Rugby Trainer on anywhere. So Rugby Trainer on TikTok, Instagram, website, chuck the academy at the end of that as well. And you can check out my academy, so the Rugby Trainer Academy. That is it. Just Rugby Trainer. It's simple.
Yeah, very simple. Perfect. Okay. And for those listening at home, everything we've mentioned today will be linked in the show notes below, which can be found in one place, and that is at amateurrugbypodcast.com. So it just leaves me to say, Ben, thanks so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed that.
Okay, there he goes. Ben John, the rugby trainer. Fantastic. He looks like he was a cracking player, and he's turned into a fantastic coach now as well. And I follow the Rugby Trainer on all those platforms, and it's awesome content that he puts out. It's really good fun, where you can learn a lot of stuff as well. So I encourage you all to go and follow him. Now, if you've enjoyed this podcast, you could do all the social media stuff, you know, all the follows and likes. And I always really love that and appreciate that. But what I'd really like is if you mention it to someone in person the next time you're down your local rugby club. But until then, get out and play.